It's the Wolf Media Festival podcast. Today's guest, from the award-winning storytelling podcast, Tales from the Penny Bloods, Wayfarers All, voice actor Mark Tunstall. And now, here is your host, Richard Wilmore.
Well, Mark, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
You are certainly not a stranger to podcasting, are you?
No, I've had a few. I've just started my own one actually for my production company, so that's having some early, not gremlins, but I'm getting to learn about the other side of it, which is great. But I've done quite a fair amount of interviews as an actor, yeah.
Nice. Where would you like to start? You want to start with the production company side? I'd love to dive into that. I'd love to hear about the new podcast. You've got a lot going on.
First of all, I think it would be my duty to talk about the Penny Bloods, because I think that's initially the reason why I've been asked to interview, because I was part of an ensemble cast, and I still am. It's an ongoing thing for Penny Bloods, which are you might know Victorian London newspapers that were fiction, like Dracula and Frankenstein, things like that in the Victorian era. They were called penny dreadfuls, and everyone used to read them and get scared by them. So that's inspired Julia Warren, who's the producer of the Penny Bloods that we now do, to dramatize loads of old stories into serials, dramatizations. So the one that I think got your attention was Wayfarers All, the Phantom Coach, which was, I played a barrister in it called James Murray, who was supposedly the hero of the piece, and it was quite a chilling tale. So there's that, but now there's an ongoing thing called Varney the Vampire, or Varney, let me just find out the exact name, Varney the Vampire, I think it's pronounced. And it's a vampire story, and it's going to have hundreds and hundreds of episodes. So that's what we're all working on at the moment. So yeah, and I take many roles along the way in that.
How did you get involved?
I saw them on Instagram, and I love Penny Dreadful stuff. Anything related to Victorian Gothic drama and melodrama I really like. So I saw that they were doing these audio plays, these kind of radio plays, if you like, versions of Penny Dreadfuls called Penny Bloods. And I thought, right, I'm having some of that. So I wrote to Julia Warren on Instagram and just sent my spotlight page, which is like the actor profile that you have to send to everyone with your headshots and all your credits on and show reels and that. And she got right back to me, said, yeah, we're doing one next week. Can you come? And I did it, Phantom Coach. So I got the script and then just, we jumped straight in. And that's the one we're here about today. So it's my first one with them.
One best storytelling podcast for May of 2026.
Let's take a quick break to check out another awesome submission from the festival.
I'm the youngest brother of Art Williams, who was the first National League black umpire. This is where Art started out his professional baseball career. This is where I, as his brother, was running all over the place.
But he always had this dream in the background of umpiring. Well, at that time, I was like, an umpire? Why do you want to be an umpire?
Art, he had his own technique. When there was a call, third strike, Art would pick his leg up and just do this little gyration. 3! Growing up in Arkansas was invaluable learning experience. He saw things where blacks had to go to the back to buy food at restaurants. He saw where there was colored drinking fountains. One thing he said to me, he had his arm around me, He said, "Brother, this is unbelievable."
Um, when did you first get into voice acting?
Well, primarily I'm a standard actor. I'm trying to build up the voice side of it because, as I said, I love radio drama. I love listening to sort of Sunday afternoon radio when there's a drama on. So I thought I would like to get involved in that. So I'm only really starting out. Last year, no, it's probably the year before now, I was asked to voice Aerys Targaryen in the Game of Thrones series podcast. So I do that, and I'm still doing that. It's an ongoing series called Robert's Rebellion, which is the Game of Thrones season that was never televised. So I play Aerys, the Mad King, in that, and it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. So I got really into that, and then when the Penny Bloods came along, I guess I'm becoming a voice actor as well. It
I
just
say
happened.
own it. I say own it. You are, yes.
Yeah, I'm owning that. But primarily I do film, theatre, TV, not voice so much. This is brand new in the last year or two.
Did you grow up wanting to be an actor, or how did that come about?
Absolutely. So when I was in school, I think the first thing I got involved in was musicals. And funnily enough, I've jumped back into musical theatre. I just got back from a tour off Broadway, where I was playing a lead in a musical called Always Young, which I wrote, and it was taken on by a theatre off Broadway. And I went out there for 4 months, I think it was roughly, and rehearsed and put that on. And that did really well. So that's how I started musical theatre. And then when I was about 19, I moved to London and got my first agent called Sylvia Young. And then started as a jobbing actor, just, going on to audition after audition. I had a role in a soap once called Brookside, which was great. It got me some notice, and it's carried on from there. And now recently I've just started my own film production company, and we're on our 3rd film now, where I go in front and behind the camera. So I'm directing that, and then I'm acting in it as well. So it's been a long journey, full of loads of adventures, which I won't bore you with. But yeah, I've wanted to act since I was 13, and now all these years later, 30 odd years later, I'm still doing it, and I've never stopped.
What does that feel like? Because obviously, as a kid, I was 13 or 12 when I knew I want to be a talk show host. I want to do stuff like this, and I've been able to do that same thing for the last 30 years. What does that feel like now when you look back at like that kid who wanted to do this? Is it what you expected? Is it more? Is it like, what does it feel like to still be doing it? And so many people don't get to live that dream.
Sure. I think I'd be surprised as a kid that I'd got this far and done so much diverse stuff. Because I think back then, my dream was really, if I just got on TV, if I was doing the odd commercial or something, that was a dream come true. I never thought I'd be in feature films or TV series of note. I just thought if I could just go on auditions and stuff and maybe get the odd little thing here and there and keep up doing stage stuff, that would make me happy. And I've gone beyond that. So I would look at that kid thinking, you're quite naive. You should, if I'd have pushed even more and tried even harder, I would have done an awful lot more. But I kind of felt as a youngster that a little bit out of my depth. I didn't push as much, not until I was about 30 years old, really. There's a lot more I could have done. I just sat back and let my agent get me auditions. Now I'm much more involved in the process. I put myself forward for, lots more than I ever have before, and it shows. I get more work. So
yeah how does it feel like when I started and I thought, oh, I want to be a talk show host? It was, you had to be on TV, you had to be on a network, talk. And now with streaming platforms and podcasts, and there are so many different ways to do what both of us do.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's great, but with a caveat. There's because it's so open to everyone doing it, you've got to make sure you cut through cut through it and don't, you know, get seduced by things that aren't very well researched, or they're not really speaking the truth, they're just opinion. And I think it's great with a caveat. When you just have TV shows and interviews and that, it can be a lot more researched and produced, and there's certain rules in place, which means you're not supposed to say stuff that hasn't been thoroughly fact checked. So if you remove all of that, like I'm doing it from my own podcasting room, I do my own podcast now for my production house. No one's really fact checking me or anything. I could say whatever I like, and just leave it up to chance whether or not I've incriminated myself in some way. So I guess I think it's brilliant that people have platforms like YouTube, Spotify to throw their own stuff out on, but you just have to be wary of what you actually listen to.
Yeah, that's so true. You've had your toes dipped in a lot of different pieces: directing, writing, podcast, voice, all of these things. What is still on your wish list?
I do quite a fair bit of independent film, and I've done the odd studio film. I'd like to do more studio, like without sounding conceited. When you're doing an independent film, you have to do a lot of the work. You have to do a lot of hard work. So if I'm producing my own film, it's great and I love doing it, but I've done it. I'm on the third one now, and I want to have all of that taken away. I want to go in and do the acting job, really, really work hard at that, and then go. Or as a writer, get my script performed, and that's it. At the moment, I'm directing, or I'm writing and acting. I'm directing and acting and producing. I want to streamline it. So I would have to say what's still on my wish list is to just now go solo as an actor and be looked after, and not have to, you know, worry about other things.
Is acting like your first or your major crush? Like, do you love all the other things, or if you could just do acting, that's what you would do?
Yeah, I mean, if I could pay the bills fully just on acting work, I would. Acting is my first desire. Secondly, I would say writing. So I just did a master's a few years ago in comedy writing, script writing, and I enjoyed that, but I realized that I was limiting myself with comedy writing, and actually my writing talents are a little darker than that. You know, you can have black comedy and stuff, and that's what I tended to do, because comedy was just too broad for me. I wanted to darken it, so I guess I'd be a dramatic writer, and I probably did the wrong masters. But keeping that in mind, it would be acting first, then I'd like to be taken seriously as a writer. Having said that, the musical I just wrote, called Always Young, that did really well off Broadway, and we're still continuing with that. We would like it to get bigger and bigger. So we're looking at the Edinburgh Festival next year for that here in the UK. That's quite a big thing. And then go back to New York, because we've been offered a bigger stage. So that's all happening. And that's very much a dark comedy with some very, very interesting lyrics that are a little bit on the nose in places. So that's where I get to exercise my sort of darker side, if you like, within comedy. But it's first it's acting, and then as a writer. Directing is kind of third.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds oftentimes when we talk to people on this podcast, and you as well, that like the same thing kind of in the podcasting world too, where you are doing a lot of the work, you're doing a lot of the promotion, you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting to bring one thing to the public. But I'm curious, like, how you get to then doing a tour off Broadway. Like, where's that leap from, like, you're in your studio writing all this to I'm now, doing a tour of this, and we're planning this next year at Edinburgh, and then we're going to come back. Like, how does that work?
The journey of that was this. So I was teaching, I was course team leader at a college here in Cambridge in the UK, and I was head of the drama department, so teaching drama to like 18-year-olds doing their A-levels. While I was there, I was writing the script for Always Young, which was essentially about it was to be performed by adults going back to their school years when they were about 12 or 13, 14 years old. So it was written to be played by adults looking back on their school years. And that's how we performed it, adults playing teenagers. So I was writing that at the time, not basing it on the students I was teaching, but it didn't hurt to actually be in a school environment at the time as I was writing it. Although I was setting it in the 1980s, a lot of the problems that teenagers come across today were still, they were present back then. So I didn't use it as subject matter, but it was just great to be around teenagers at the time that I was writing it as their teacher. So I wrote that, and then I showed it to my partner, Michelle. And at the time that I'd finished writing it, we just started opening a film production house with our first film called Unlicensed, which is a boxing drama that we made with a guy called Mark Hampton. And that did really, really well. So we were just putting out a film, and my partner said, why don't we put your play on, your musical? So we got together with a band, and I had written the lyrics to the songs and some basic tunes, and we got a band together and structured the musical more. And then within about 6 months of doing that, we booked it into a couple of theatres in London and just played it out as a workshop. You workshop a new play, saw what was wrong with it, what was right with it, did a quick rewrite, and then I sent that script to one theatre, Theatre for the New City in New York. And as soon as I sent it, a couple of weeks later, they got back to me and said, we'd like to put it on. Can you come over and do the show? So we were like, yeah. So we recast it with a load of New York actors. So we'd be supporting the actors in New York rather than just coming over and, English invasion and taking control of the theatre. So we completely recast it with New Yorkers. We couldn't possibly have afforded to bring a cast of what was 12 actors at the time. We couldn't have afforded to do that anyway. The theatre was paying for a lot, but they weren't paying for that. So we went over, we recast it and did the show, and it went really well. So that was the journey of that. And I could go into more detail. There were struggles along the way, but actually it was surprisingly easy. Yeah. To some people that sounds insane, but it wasn't as hard as we thought it would be.
Interesting. Were there, since you've started all of this, have there been struggles, hurdles along the way that you have obviously overcome, but have maybe made you rethink your decision about what you wanted to do? And how did you get over that and continue? Because sometimes, in the arts, it can be so frustrating, and you just want to be like, I want to throw it all away, go get a real person job and be done with this. Have you had those experiences? And I'm curious, how you get over that.
Of course I have. When that really happened, it was about 10 years ago, and I thought, the acting work's drying up. I'm concerned here. And so I trained to be a teacher, and I focused on teaching in the lifelong learning sector, which means you primarily teach adults, so 18 and above. But as I was training as a teacher, I did it vocationally. So I was put into a lot of secondary schools as well, teaching drama and English. And I did that for 7 years. Culminating in teaching drama as an A-level. And then I thought, no, I've done that for 7 years now. I've given myself security for 7 years. I'm going back just to acting. And I've made that leap again, because essentially you can do that and it'll pay the bills, but it won't ever make you happy. If you know you are made to do one thing, doing this, the teaching, yes, it was good for a time, but I couldn't have continued. It would have destroyed me eventually.
Yeah. What keeps you going and creating so much?
I enjoy it for a start, and I enjoy seeing the finished product acted out by people. If I'm writing, if it's me and I see a great script and I perform it and it gets good feedback, that's absolutely fantastic. It's not all for accolades, though. I think I must enjoy the process. I live and breathe the process of performing for myself. It's not just to entertain people. It's probably something I need to do as a human being, step outside of myself, become someone else, exercise different personalities. Because maybe if I didn't do that, they'd all come out of me. And I would just be schizophrenic.
I understand. Yes. Yeah. Do you have, there's a video game kind of based on Penny Blood, right? That's coming out. Did I read that correctly?
Not by me.
Well, my notes are wrong then.
No, it could be Julia Warren, who runs the whole show, and Arnold, who does that with her. They are doing so many things with the Penny Bloods. I'd have to really check with them. They
That's
could
okay.
be. The thing they're mostly going on about at the moment is Varney the Vampire, or Vampire, by Thomas Peckett Prest and James Malcolm Reimer. It's about 1,600 pages of text, so they're putting it into a series of podcast audio dramas. So that's what they're really throwing themselves at now. Computer game absolutely could be. I just don't know anything about it.
Okay, that's all right. I'm curious, because you're so busy on different projects, like what were you doing before this interview? Like, were you working on something before this? And what are you going to be working on when we're done speaking today?
Yeah, okay. So the Penny Bloods is something I'm constantly doing for Julia Warren, and that's great. Aside from that, at the moment, I'm in the middle of a film called Rendlesham, which is set in the 1980s. It's a tongue-in-cheek horror film based around the Rendlesham UFO mystery that is a real thing in the UK. In the 80s, there was a UFO sighting in Rendlesham Forest, which is some area of Suffolk in the middle of nowhere. And so what we've done is I've got the writer, David Edwards. He's up in Scotland. He wrote this script based on that. Like, this is what could have happened at the time and what could have happened after it. It didn't. But I took that script in our production house and said, yes, I want to direct this. And he said, would you also act in it? And I said, yes, of course I will. And a role I play in that is a Man in Black. You probably heard of the Man in Black or Men in Black. There are these creepy, possibly CIA agents who go and conceal and cover up UFO situations. So I play one of those, and it's a great role, and I'm really loving it. And we've been filming now for the last 6 months, mainly at weekends. So that's the major thing I'm working on at the moment. So if you think that we're filming the weekends, and then in the week we've got rehearsals, we've got set building, sourcing costume and props, because it's all set in the mid 1980s. So that takes up all our time. But it's a great thing to be doing, because looking at some of the scenes that have already got in the can, it just looks beautiful. Because I love the 80s.
You obviously have to have a certain mindset when you're directing. You have to have a certain mindset when you're acting. How do you do both when you're directing and starring in something?
Well, when you're directing your own scenes, then you've got to trust yourself, obviously. And I'm still directing other people in the scene, so I'll stop it. But what I do, I have to rely on my director of photography, the DOP, to do all the action and cuts and basically give me feedback on how it looked. So we work very closely together. A guy called Fifi. That's on the scenes I'm doing. But luckily, I'm not in the film. My scenes are great, but they're very sporadic throughout the film. So 90% of the time I am directing standard, standing there barking orders at the actors. And then all of a sudden a scene will come along that I have to do. And scenes in a film, they're like 1 minute long each scene, So if I do one of my scenes, it's like, trust the crew, trust everyone else for feedback, do it to the best of my ability, go and look at it, what it looked like on the viewfinder, go and look at it and go, yep, that's enough, we can move on. So yeah, it's just about being organized and checking on yourself. But you've got to have that opinion. You've got to know when you're bad or when you're good. You've got to be pretty black and white with yourself.
Yeah. What's your advice for people just getting into the industry?
Right, I've got quite a lot of advice, so I won't go through everything. As a teacher, I was constantly asked by my students who were just entering into getting their first agent and that. So I actually give coaching classes for that. But I think one of the main things here, I would say, is if you're UK based and you want to get involved in film, you can email me for a start, mark@rooms101.co.uk. And I will give you opportunities within the film industry, because we are looking for people in our production house to come and play roles in the films and the stage show. So mark@rooms101.co.uk. You can do that if you're UK based or if you want to come over to the UK. But I would say essentially you've got to start promoting yourself and getting an agent if you haven't already done that. If you've already got an agent, it's all about promoting yourself. You must join Spotlight, which is the actors' online profile book, I suppose, where casting directors choose you from. So join Spotlight in the UK and make sure you put yourself out there for a lot of other work that you've just found yourself online. You can't rely on your agent. But my advice is, if you believe you have talent or other people say it of you, don't give up. Don't, even if you're doing a day job, just keep pushing away, at sending yourself up for jobs. There's no hard and fast advice for anyone, because it really is dependent on the individual. That there's so much you could say, but yeah, essentially I just say just throw yourself at stuff and don't turn stuff down if you're offered it. I've turned down some stuff which I really regretted.
That's a whole nother podcast. That would be a great one. Stuff I've regretted. What is the best way that people can connect with you out there in the world? Is it your website?
Yeah, so if you even Google Rooms 101 Production, that's ROOMS 101 Productions, we should come up. Go onto our website and you can email us through there, or just Mark, MARK, at ROOMS101.co.uk, and just email me directly. I'm not bombarded with emails. I love getting emails and helping people. And if people go, I'm an actor and I want to get involved in film, we'll always consider you. We're only 3 years old as a production house, but we've already produced 3 movies that, at cinemas, Apple TV, Amazon Prime. So we're really, really into it, but we need people.
Okay, good. So there you go. His email address is right there on the screen. Go bombard him with emails and ask him questions. Mark, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely great. And keep listening to the Penny Bloods. They're just going to get bigger and more violent.
Yeah, perfect. We'll put all the links in the notes, and we'll chat with you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Wolf Media Festival Podcast with Richard Wilmore and Jacqueline Wolfhart. Produced and edited by me. I'm Jacqueline Wolfhart. Don't forget to check out the links in the description to find ways you can connect with our guests. Thanks for checking us out today and tuning in every week wherever you get your podcasts.